Kia ora, New Zealand. Welcome to Sweet Chain Live. My name's Matt Drake. This is episode 213, and I'm joined this evening by my co-host, who's now turning up a little bit more often than perhaps you would have expected. Arne Burgess is here. Good evening, Arne.
Yeah, good evening, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. I'm all right. Better than I was last week, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for jumping in and saving the day, and helping out Morgan last week. And also thank you for jumping in and helping out Morgan this week, with being able to sub in for him again. So fantastic.
It's probably not going to be the last that I'm helping him this weekend. He's on his way up to Christchurch to receive something special and very heavy. And I dare say he's going to be calling on my labouring skills on the weekend to help him get it off the trailer. So,
yeah, well, there we are. So that will be something to look forward to come Sunday evening or whenever he's back.
Yes.
So, good. Have you been out and about? You've been playing much disc golf?
Yeah, went to Lake Oahu last weekend. Went up on the Friday. Had a wee bit of a play around and then played the first ever Generation Open on the Saturday, which was pretty enjoyable. Yeah.
And how'd you get on?
Forgettable. No, it was so here's an interesting one. You know, when you have your players meeting and everyone heads off towards their holes and whatnot, and on your way there you might throw a couple of holes or whatnot. I ended up walking by myself and decided, oh, well, I'll stop here and I'm starting over there, so I'll just throw this hole. Aced it. Absolutely no one saw me. 56-meter hole, threw a disc, aced it. No one saw me. Sitting there looking around and proceeded to bogey it both times during the tournament. So, yeah.
So quick question for chat. If you ace and no one sees it, did it even happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't even take the picture, you know.
You didn't get any photo evidence for it. It was just one of those things. Oh, well, congratulations on the ace either way.
Thank you.
And very good. You played in a Generation Open. Looked like it was a good little tournament. Did you enjoy the course?
It's just the regular.
Is it the regular?
Yeah,
it's the regular.
Yeah. So look, it's there's some of the holes from the Waihitapu layout that they keep, but really it's nothing down by the lake where we usually get the horrendous wind and all that sort of stuff. So it's nice and simple and. A whole bunch of people playing their first tournament. I was saying to you in the green room before, there was a crew from Christchurch, they call themselves retiring ultimate players that are moving into the disc golf era. So
okay, I know a few of those who have done that, so that's good.
Yes.
Okay, well, no, good new players, right? New players.
Yeah. I mean, there were a couple of them that ended up in the MA2, lead card. So, they'll be there or thereabouts as they get more experience. Definitely.
Excellent. So I played in Dystopia at the weekend, which was over the hill at Henley Lake in Masterton. And I played it in MA2, played off the shorts, shot 21 under par, and I was like, "What is going on? This is." I mean, I was thinking to myself, "Is this what it's like to play disc golf in the South Island? This is crazy that I'm on this score." But no, it was real good fun.
Did you find a whole heap of sand in your car on the way home, or
I did. Well, you say that I didn't because I finished fifth in MA2. So out of 7, 5 shots off the lead. Andrew Lecoq took it out. I just left myself a little bit too much to do. Just every round was just a few shots behind. At any one point, I was. At one point I was leading, and at another point I was in second for quite a while. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Got a tap-in eagle, which I must say on a South Island par 5, very, very much, with South Island par 5, big bold letters, South Island par 5,
big
right?
bold letters.
It was 165 meters, and okay. We've not very, very much danger. There were a few South Island par 4s also that we were able to exploit, which was very nice. So yeah,
nice though,
but no, very much enjoyed it.
I've flipped between the MA2 and the MA40. Sometimes I kid myself and think that I might be able to win or do pretty well, so I'll slot down to MA2 and get embarrassed, and then go back up and just come last in MA40. Because what's the difference between coming last in MA40 or MA2? But it is quite nice going around and having a good round, even if you finish fifth, 21 under.
Yeah,
it's enjoyable, right?
Yeah, it's more enjoyable, is what I'd say. Because if I was playing that Henley Lake White course, I've played it loads of times before, and I always felt like I got my back to the wall, and it's like defend, 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 and there's maybe a couple of holes that I feel, okay, I can have a go here.
Yeah.
Whereas on the red course, nearly every hole, I'm thinking, right, I need to be trying to put it close here.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to, you some of them you pick up, some of them you don't. So yeah, it was
good things about the Henley Lake course. Is it quite open, technical, wooded mixture?
So it's a park course, right? So it's a bit of a mixture of both. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a wooded course, although there are a couple of holes where there are obviously trees along the fairway and in the fairway, etc. It's a park golf course, not a golf course. It's a park course.
And the potential maybe in the future to host a major, or a good B tier or something like that, or is it not that big?
Probably. So it's big enough to host what it does. I think you'd probably need to make it longer to host a more like a major or more than that. They did lengthen some of the holes for the white layout this time, so a couple of the holes were where the tee pads were pushed back in a lot of cases, and they were playing with an additional 9 holes. So what Mark had done is he popped another 9 holes on part of the course that you don't normally, part of the park you don't normally use around the back of the lake. And so we played 3 rounds of 27. Two rounds of 27 on Saturday, and 1 round of 27 on Sunday morning. So
that's a cool format, actually. Like 27 or 54 holes in a day is pretty grueling, but you probably you feel like you come away from something like that feeling like you really got your value for money.
Totally.
Yeah, so
totally.
No, awesome.
Totally. Matt Broughton corrects me, actually. I'm going to take a mulligan on that. Only 1 was pushed back. So there we are. That shows how much attention I paid. Right, now let's get into the show. First up, the Disc Golf Valley code is there. There above Arn's head. So Arn pointing upwards. 9 Golf 9 Tango for anybody listening on the police radio. We've got hot scores coming up in a bit. Then we're going to talk about consistency. Okay. Do you consider yourself to be a consistent player, Arn?
Consistently inconsistent.
Consistently inconsistent. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. And we'll ask the question: does consistency matter? Is there a relationship between how good you are and how consistent you are? Do these things are these things related at all? We'll find out. Then we're going to go through the results of Dystopia and Generation Open. We've got we're going to be looking ahead to the Charteris Bay Charge, which is this weekend. We're going to be going through the tipping for that coming up. Looks like it could be a bit of a juicy one. Nobody's really standing out as potentially winner. Then we're going to have a look at Disc Golf Masters. Arne, I don't know if you've seen this, but producer Tom has been playing Disc Golf Masters on its pre-release demo thing. I think he's got his hands on, and so we're going to be having a look at some of the footage of that. Actually, it looks pretty good, and if you're a bit of a PC gamer, then that could be the one for you. Disc Golf Valley, Disc Store, and finally Power Rankings to round us out. All right, how does that sound?
Sounds like a great conversation.
Excellent. Right, why don't you kick us off with the South Island hot score?
So we head down to Queen's Park, down at Invercargill, where we always kick it off, and we've got now. The Māori in me is going to pronounce this as Shannon Kite, but I'm pretty sure it's Shannon Kite. With a 13 down, sharing the hot score with Tiaki. Over to Chingford, where we have Nicholas McDermott of Dunedin with a 3 down. Brockville, we see Sean Aitken with a 1 down. Coming over to Queenstown, my neck of the woods, and Smokey Mackay gets it with an 8 down. Queenstown Gardens, we have a tie there at 14 down for the Stiffmeister, Stefano and Mikey Yu. Over to Lismore, 3-way tie there for John Gibbs, Amon and Mike for a 9 down. All the way up to Christchurch, where we have Reed with the hot score of 11 down. Over to Bottle Lake, a unfamiliar name these days in the disc golf world, but a familiar one a year or two ago, and that is Mr. Jaden Watkinson with a
National
10 down
21.
at Bottle Lake. Good to see him back out. Warren Park and Smallbone Reserve have Oscar with a 10 down at Warren and 16 down at Smallbone. Queen's Park is Josh Mason with a 3 down. Taylor River up in Blenheim, we have someone by the name of Inca with a 6 down. And then Bramford Park, you've got to love it. Tie there, 2 people, both of them apparently 18 down.
Very good scores.
Well done to
Very good
them.
scores. Up to the North Island and starting off in the capital in Berrenport, and it's Sebastian Vorman who goes round the hills at 6 under par, and 6 under par is also enough for Peter to do the business at Hikoikoi, taken out this week. Andy Davey goes twice that, 12 under par at Harcourt Park this week, so very well done to him. Jared Saw up in Flaxmere goes 9 down. At Spa Park Black, Nathaniel Crawford and James Dean tied for a 2 under par, and over at Scion Tree Nursery, it's Chris Kelly's 8 under, which takes the honours. Jamie Kennedy's 10 down at Henderson gives him the win, and a 3-way tie between Guy, Jackson Sullivan, and Oscar took place as they all went 7 under par. Finally, at Rosedale, we have Joey Parks, who hits 8 under par. Don't forget to, if you haven't already, give us a like, give us a subscribe. It really does help the algorithm things do their thing. I think it's somewhere down there. Alan's pointing to it very well. Yeah, we're slowly creeping up. When we get to 500, massive giveaway coming. So help us get to that number as quickly as we can. Now, Arne, question for you.
Yes.
How consistent are you?
So I've got a great example of this. I played Lismore a couple of weeks ago, Lords and Ladies. And I did play it because it has a bit of a reputation of dishing out pretty high ratings if you do well.
It does.
Yeah. And the different in my round rating scores is I scored on one of them in particular around about a 9-10, which is pretty good for me. It's well above my rating. But all other 3 rounds were down in the 700s, way down.
Okay.
So for me, consistency is probably a big problem.
Right. Okay. So now my next question is, do you think, and this is a question for chat as well, what do you think the relationship is between consistency and performance?
Performance, as in winning performance, or?
Well, as in high-rated rounds performance.
I mean, the general sport conversation is your higher performing players are generally more consistent at an elite level, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I would say at
And
an
so
elite level,
do you think that applies to New Zealand disc golf?
um,
Chat, what do you think?
yeah.
What do you think? Is there a relationship here?
Yeah, I'd love to hear from Chad actually, because for me, I probably have a little bit more of an oversight of the general New Zealand disc golf public, and
Mm-hmm.
I would say, to hazard at a guess, we're probably still somewhere between 80 and 90% still in that low amateur divisions. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I would. Yes. Yes, I would.
be more around the
But
80, but and so obviously when you're in the amateur division, the pressure to be more consistent might not be there. Um,
Mhm,
within ball golf, there's this thing called the yips. When you get the yips and you go through a bad patch,
absolutely.
that can
Yeah,
affect your
yeah.
consistency. But how many times do you sit before a tournament or before a round and you're on the practice putting green and you're just nailing putt after putt
Mm,
after putt
yeah.
after putt,
All been there.
and then
All
you
been
step up
there.
to your first
And it
putt
just
in
goes blank.
rounds and yank, yank, drop, dinger,
Yeah,
so
hard. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
yeah.
I know exactly what you mean.
So I've got to say
Right.
that it's
Well,
got to help, surely. If you are consistent, surely it's got to push your rating up a little bit
I
more.
I would say so.
Yeah,
Before we pop the chart on screen,
yeah.
um, the digital development team have been doing a little bit of work on this because it came up at the weekend in a conversation that I had with someone at Disctopia. After I was just doing some kind of cursory kind of searching around, and then sanctioned the team to take a look at this in a little bit more detail. And I got chatting to Ezra Morrison. Now Ezra was I didn't play with him at the weekend, but he was in the MA2 lead card. I was on the chase card, so I did speak to him, and he, by his own admission, um, is one of the more inconsistent players. His ratings are kind of all over the place. 1 minute he can come in with like 960s, and next minute it's 820s. This kind of big swings. So it kind of got me thinking, well, how does that compare to everyone else? And how does it relate to overall rating? So what the digital development team have done here is they produced this chart, which we're going to pop up on the screen now. I'll explain what's going on. Now, every one of these dots that's on the screen represents a person in the top 200 New Zealand male disc golfers, or the top 20 female New Zealand disc golfers. Okay. Less about 10 men who don't have a PDGA number or whose PDGA membership have expired. Okay. So the highest rated one of those is about, I don't know, 70th in the country or something. So we're talking about more or less the top 200 players, and then the top 20 ladies. The ladies are the red dots, which you might be able to see there. And it's not 100% clear. Might be able to zoom in there, but the red dots. Along the bottom axis is players' current rating, and this is after the ratings update that was done earlier on this week, right? So that, which includes, I think it might include Generation Open, but it doesn't include Dystopia. Okay, so the Dystopia ratings are not included in this month's ratings update. They'll be included in next month's. And on the left-hand axis, that I think has been hidden slightly. I don't know if we can just zoom out and show the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, there we are. Producer Tom's a little bit ambitious with the old scroll wheel. Right. And on the left-hand side, that number there relates to one standard deviation, the size of one standard deviation for each player, right? you're aware of what a standard deviation is like, right? Or what its standard deviation is.
Different. Different in score?
Sort of,
Yeah.
right? So what a standard deviation says is that take a standard deviation of, say, 30,
Yeah.
which looks to be around the kind of
The
middle
middle,
there.
yeah.
What that's saying is that if you've got a rating of 900 and a standard deviation of 30, what that's saying is that 68% of your rounds fall in the bracket between 870, 900 minus 30,
Yeah.
and
30.
930,
Okay.
900 plus 30, right? And then two standard deviations is like 95% or something, fall within, well, what would be 60 either side
Yes.
of 900. So 840 to 960, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 2.5 standard deviations, which is an important number from PDGA purposes, which we'll come to shortly, is further out again, and that represents about 99-ish%. Okay, so what this says is if you have a low standard deviation, okay, or the value for your standard deviation is low, right? And there's some people down here in the 17s, and we'll get to who they are in a minute. You can probably guess one of them because their rating is ludicrous. The what that's saying is that, and we'll call him out as because it's Levi. He's got a rating of 1024. 68% of his rounds fall in the band between his standard deviation is just under 18, so it would be 1006 to what 1040
40 something. Yeah.
Okay, that 68% of his rounds fall inside that bracket. Okay, and therefore, so that's saying that he's more consistent. So a low standard deviation is more consistent.
So,
Is what we're saying here, right?
with regards to your earlier question, this is a good example, other than
Yeah.
potentially someone that's around about 910 rated or 900 rated.
Yeah.
He is the most consistent male player within the top 200.
Yes,
Yeah,
in New Zealand,
in
he's the
New
most
Zealand.
consistent. He's the most, with the exception of one person, which is Leon Krellin, of Hawke's Bay. He's the well, let's call it it's an outlier. He's 910 rated and has got a standard deviation of 17. So yeah, other than that, Levi's the second most consistent player. Blake Whelan, Joe Seebeck, Tyler McCarron, Tehota, Sean Brown, Quentin Suppers, they're all really consistent players. So yeah, so there you are. So, and what this chart also shows is that generally speaking, the better players are more consistent. So it goes along with what you were saying. Now, if there's anyone in chat, if you want to know what your standard deviation is, so you can try and plot your name on this chart and find your dot, then just pop your name into chat, and I'll have a go at trying to find it. Can't do everyone, but we'll see how we get on.
Fortunately, I currently sit outside the top 200, so my
It
name's
doesn't.
not in there.
But unfortunately, well, that is true. However, fortunately, I did look you up,
Yes.
and you fit in 842 and 37.38. So
around about the middle.
you're kind of, well, you're probably bang on the line, actually. So yeah, I mean, you're at least your average with your consistency,
Yes.
if that makes sense for your performance level.
It's a cruel sport, Matt, because I have thrown 940 rated rounds before, and so it just tempts you. It gives you that taste. Gives you that taste of victory, and that you're up there, and you can be something. You can make yourself something, and then you don't practice. And suddenly that consistency falls away.
So let's have a go. Some people in chat have chirped up. Kevin Carpenter, you are 29.82 is your standard deviation, so slightly less, and 940 rated. So that's about where I would about average, right?
Is Kev
Average
940
consistency. Rated? Kevin's 940 rated, yeah, 940 rated and about 30. That's I don't know. that dotted line crosses the 30 at about 9:58-ish. So if you about 9:58 rating.
I think not only am I bad for my own disc golf, I'm bad for others' disc golf, because when I left Christchurch, Kevin was, I'm pretty confident he was below 900 rated. So me leaving Christchurch, he was one of the guys I played most of my rounds with. He has gotten exponentially better at disc golf.
So what you're saying is that you were dragging him down
Yes,
when
yeah,
you were living in
he was feeling
Christchurch, and
sorry for
since
me.
then shackles have come off,
Yeah.
and he's just bolted for 1,000 rating, no looking back. So let's have a look. So I'll come to Ben in a second. Hayden Bonney, 28.48, 28.5 on a 907 rating, so pretty consistent, relatively consistent for your rating. So well done. Ben Cornell, 28 on 882, so very consistent for your rating there. Matt Stow wants to know if he's on here. He is. 903, 29.54. Lots of people in this kind of middle area. Producer Tom asks, is he on here? He is. 882 and 26.92. So well done to producer Tom. Someone who isn't with us live, but often is at this time of the week, is Mr. Morgan Hardfeld. And where do you think Morgan fits, Arne?
I know this, and I'm going to take great pleasure in you telling everyone.
So Morgan is the 6th most inconsistent player in the country, with a standard deviation of a whopping 43.7. I think we were joking previously earlier on in the day about how he had a 180 points rating point swing between round 1 and round 2 of the Samoa Swine.
You've got to and I will take every chance I get to rip some banter into that guy, but that was Thailand. Things can happen between rounds that are going to impair your ability to physically perform. And
I can imagine.
Yeah, so I'll give him a pass on that. But I think, look, me and Morgan have we've had great discussions about and especially his enjoyment of disc golf as of recently. And I think, something that someone like him struggles with is that he has been at the top or near the top, and now, because of life and because he's getting an old bugger, he's creeping towards that MP40 realm, and the ability to get out and practice and all that sort of stuff. Other things in life are coming in, and he isn't able to put in the work that he used to. And so I think that reflects on his enjoyment of playing disc golf, as it does with all of us, right? So, but
look, it makes total sense. And actually, you might, if the digital development team looked at this a bit more, what they might find is that if you play less frequently, then you're also more inconsistent. Kind of irrespective of where your floor is, because what this doesn't take into account is how many rounds each person's played. But what it is taking into account is it's only looking at the standard of, when calculating the standard deviation, I should say, it is only considering the rounds which are used to calculate your current rating. So those are ones within the last 12 months of your most recent tournament, and doesn't count the most recent 25% of those rounds twice, like the ratings calculation does. So
here's a conversation, a question for you, Matt, is rather than, we were talking about what I brought up last week around the NZDG's proposal to create a set of ratings caps for the lower MA2, MA3, MA4. And we were having a discussion about how you would go through that sort of analysis, I suppose, to come up with that number. So we're not just going, let's read what people think
Absolutely.
and put that
Yeah.
in. Would something like this, with regards to standard deviations, be better suited to just looking at something like what is the average rating of the winner of MA2 for the last 2 years? What is
Okay, so it is a separate conversation.
mm,
You're correct. Okay, and I'm not going to go into it too much detail here because it's a different
yeah,
conversation. However, I don't think that the methodology should necessarily look at what the winners have achieved
yes,
in MA2, MA3, MA4. I actually think that that's largely irrelevant. I think what's better to do is to say, what are you trying to achieve by having MA2, MA3, and MA4? Okay, if it's increased competition, then actually what you want is you want the relatively similar number of players playing in each of those divisions to create the maximum amount of competition that you could on average across the divisions.
yeah,
And so when that's got a different methodology to calculating where the numbers sit than looking at, like, okay, basically calling out the sandbaggers, right?
yeah,
And so yeah, I think it's a conversation that's worth having. If anybody's got some thoughts on the methodology, and this is only my personal viewpoint, and I'm not kind of involved really in this as anywhere near as much as you are.
yeah,
You're spearheading this. Um, it, if I was doing this, I would be saying, what's the methodology? Get the methodology right and have the idea in theory about how you want to make it work, and then create
process.
the process and the calculations off the back of that.
Yeah,
So it's not so that because so that you can get agreement to the methodology, and then whatever it spits out at the end is just the result. It's not, and the result can't then be pinned to anybody going finger in the air, like you say. So
yeah. And look,
so
that's
yeah.
the, I suppose, the crux of what I think I'm trying to get to is at the end of a tournament, when you're looking at divisions, the split between the first and the last is not miles apart. If they're 50,
No.
60 shots apart, then you've got a potential issue there. If
Hmm.
they're 20 shots apart, that's pretty good, because you've got good score separation from the best compared to
Yeah.
the person who hasn't performed well. And I remember bringing this up on Saturday as I was walking around Lake Oho. Um, at one stage during the second round, the difference between first and, like, what did I finish? The 13th, 14th was 2 shots.
Mm.
Now
Yeah.
that's potentially a score separation issue, but it came down to the very last putt to
Mm.
decide who won that division. And
Yeah.
I think as long as the guy up the top isn't rushing away by 15, 20 shots, I think people are pretty happy with their experience. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So anyway, different conversation,
Yeah,
but
it
yeah,
is, and yeah. So I'm going to bring it back to consistency because
yeah,
I've got another a point here that some people might be thinking. People might be saying, yeah, but New Zealand, New Zealand plays lots of short courses where it's like birdie or die, right? And so the because of the types of courses we play, that tend to be a little bit shorter, you could argue that luck plays more of a part
mhm,
in New Zealand disc golf than it does in, say, some of the big events in the US on the Pro Tour, for example, disc golf, where you've got a stiffer test, longer tournaments, more technical holes, and really that's separating out the people who are the top performers. And so if where you've got more luck, you have less skill that makes up the total amount of who's going to win, and so therefore your inconsistency is going to be higher, right?
yes,
Because
okay,
so maybe we're seeing difference in consistency. So what the digital development team did is they went, okay, well, let's have a look at the top 200 MPO players in the world, and we can put it onto this chart. So which producer Tom's going to do now. All of the orange dots are the top 24 players in the world.
mm,
Okay, you can see Levi's he's in the top 200, so he's got his dot there, and you can see there, that's Gannon Burr on the very far right-hand side.
Yes.
And the pattern of consistency, I would say, if you took New Zealand disc golf and just put more dots and filled it up towards the right, I think you'd see something pretty not too dissimilar from what's there.
Yep.
All right. Now the one guy that's right at the very top with a 50
Yep.
there, and this is the issue with the worldwide players, is that he'd only played 2 rounds. Now in the New Zealand data, you have to be in the top 200 players in New Zealand,
and that
according to
requires
the
a
power
certain
rankings,
number of rated
and that
rounds.
requires that's right. So it requires a minimum of 5 tournaments to have been played in the last year, which is the same timescales the ratings use, right? So you've probably got at least 5 rated rounds, probably closer to 10 at the very least for each player, right? Whereas in the world, you don't necessarily have this. For example, Ken Climo's in this data and has only got played 2 sanctioned rounds in the last, well, something like 10 years or something. But then you've got this guy who's right at the very top. I forget his name. Who's played 2 rounds as well. But then you've got players who are elsewhere, and yeah. So amongst inconsistencies, Adam James is one of the more inconsistent players on tour, which I probably don't watch enough of it to really kind of to really be able to say.
I still dabble in fantasy disc golf because I'm a bit of a tragic.
Oh, you do?
Tragic like that, and yeah, actually, Adam Hammis is one of your more affordable players to purchase. So
okay. Well, his consistency could well be what's driving that, right?
Yeah.
So what does this mean then? What does this mean? Does it? I mean, in terms of how do you improve your consistency? How does one do that? Probably 2
So I suppose
2 800 rated MA40 players is not necessarily the right people to ask.
This is really handy for your personal goal setting, I think, because what you can look to do is you could now analyze, now that I know that I'm around about that line, my goal could be, rather than hitting a rating, it could be about reducing that standard deviation so that I am playing more consistently rather than trying to get one 900 rated round every 4 or 5 tournaments. Becomes a little bit more realistic, I suppose. A more tangible goal rather than trying to chase a 1,000 rated round or something like that. Actually, maybe I need to be aiming to just get it more and more 860 or 870 rated rounds for myself. So I think understanding this is quite valuable from a performance point of view. So yeah.
I think the other thing that this chart shows, and I don't know if Tom, we can pop just the New Zealand chart back up on the screen again. I don't know if that one's just available. What this also shows, in my view, is how much Levi is so much better than everyone else in New Zealand.
That's a fair shout. Now,
I mean, he's very much the outlier. Very much the outlier in this data. So, I mean, to give you an idea, there's one player, Levi, who's at 1024. The next highest rated player is Simon Feasey at 992. Francis Orange at 990. Jackson Sullivan 987. Johnny Wake 980.
Yeah.
So there's 5 players who are 980 rated or above.
Yeah.
You got 3 more: Andrew Popham, Ethan Stout, Mikey Yu, who are all in the 970s. And then about 5, Andy Davey, Ollie Webb, Joe Berry, the Hunter brothers, Tom McKay, who are all in the 960s, and then obviously it gets more and more as you go down.
Yeah, 100%. But it is good to you look at the majority of that group within New Zealand, and we all sit between, roughly, give or take, other than a few, between the 20 and 40 mark as far as the standard deviation goes. So we're similar in consistency, similar-ish. What is your calculation as far as how many ratings points in a round rating is a shot? Is there a standard
So
formula for it?
there isn't a standard formula for it, and
Yeah.
again, this is slightly off topic, but I'll quickly
Appease me.
address
Yeah.
it. The PDGA have a black box that calculates this number.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a formula that is shared. However, it is normally between 6 and on some of the really short courses, it can be up as high as 15. Okay, but so the longer, more difficult courses have a lower ratings point per shot, and the short courses, so if you play an 18 hole par 3 54, then that's going to have and it's a short course, because they put distance into the calculation, the total distance of the course, then you are likely to have a very high ratings point gap between strokes. So a missed putt, if you 3-putt instead of 1-putt, that could cost you 30 ratings points, if you're playing a real short tournament or short rated round. So in New Zealand, it's generally about the 10 mark. On some of the majors, it can go as low as 8, and some of the smaller C tiers, it can go to 12. On some leagues, it can creep even higher, where you're playing on like a real short course. Harcourt Park's a great example of that, actually. And one of the reasons that perhaps puts people off, because Harcourt Park, you've played it before. Yeah. It's a very difficult course to score on, but it's short.
Yeah.
So the PDGA ratings engine doesn't care how technical it is, and has no way of measuring that. All it has is a distance input, and because it's a short distance, it makes an assumption that over the type of course it is, and so applies that kind of differential to each shot.
With regards to consistency,
go to someone like Brooker, that's like a beast, right, at nationals, and each shot at Brooker was something like 6-7 points. So
with regards to consistency, do you feel like you've got the makings of the ability to add an award to the trainees this year? Most consistent female and male player.
Most consistent. Quite possibly. That is something that we could have a look at. Currently leading the way, Leon Krelling would be leading the way.
If we're talking about best disc golfer in the country, there's really only a handful of players that could, within measure, achieve that. However, when we're talking about consistency within this sort of formula, it becomes quite a level playing field across the board, which is quite cool. Quite like it.
Certainly a more level playing field, and you've got to be a bit of an outlier, but you can still do it.
But here, Leon Krelling is just nudging out Levi.
That's right. 17.08 versus 17.8. So by 0.8 for ratings point. So now why does it matter? Why does the standard deviation matter? Now, do you know why it matters? Because there is a time when it is used.
In calculating your regular rating, your player rating.
No, it's not used in calculating your player rating. Your regular player rating is an average of your all of your sanctioned rounds in the year leading up to your most recent tournament, with the most recent 25% counting double. And it's basically just a mean of all of those numbers. You just add the extra 25% on as if they were another set of rounds. What the standard deviation is if you score a rated round that is 2.5 standard deviations lower than your rating, right? So if your rating is 900, and your standard deviation is 30, right? 30 times 2.5, 75. If you shoot an 825 rated round or lower, it is not counted in your ratings. Cool. It gets wiped. It's still part of your PDGA history and record. It's always going to be on there, but it doesn't get included in the calculation for your rating. So someone like Levi or Leon, for example, who's on 17, right? He can shoot around at 9-10 any round that's, I mean, let's work this out, shall we? 17.08 times 2.5, 42.7, 9-10 minus 42.7. If he shoots an 866 rated round, it doesn't count to his rating.
The other way.
It counts the other way. It's only going down, only going down.
Then you'd be pissed off if it was the other way around, if it counted both ways.
You would do. But all right, consider that compared to, and let's find someone of an equal rating who's compared to someone like to Alex Batten, for example, whose standard deviation is over double Leon's, right? So what that means, if they both shoot 866 rated rounds, Leon's isn't counting, but Alex's very much is counting. 34.67 times 2.5. And then what, minus 9-10. They've both got, Leon and Alex are both the same rating. If Alex for an 823 rated round, then it wouldn't count. But anything above 823 would count. Right? So there are various benefits to being more consistent. The more consistent you are means if you do have a blowout on a particular day and your game goes completely to shit, it is less likely to count towards your ratings. So there's a good reason to be consistent.
So there's some great coaching advice there. If you're having an absolute crap round, just start throwing speculators, because just
that's
throw
right. But make sure you message the digital development team first to find out what your bottom floor is that you've got to shoot below. No, don't do that. That's silly.
The ladies, we haven't sort of talked about them. We've called out Levi because it's very easy to see on this board.
Yes, sorry, the ladies aren't so easy to see on this board, but they are the red dots. So looking at the ladies then, let's pick out.
So I believe that one up the top as far as ratings go would probably be based on this week's ratings. Miss Tweedy.
So Alison Tweedy is the highest rated player in New Zealand at 900, and she has a standard deviation of 34.37. So what that means is that, so she's relatively inconsistent compared to her peer group of ladies. So Michelle Simpson at 28, Amy Whitmore 32, Michaela Kerr.
Sorry,
one of the more consistent
really
players
interesting to me.
Ladies in the country. Yeah,
I'm not used to analysing this sort of data with people that can answer the question competently. Now, Alison over the last year played because of injury. Chose to switch up divisions from time to time, which thus made she purposefully chose to play short layouts quite a bit. Thus meaning that the ratings points available to her weren't as much. That could have an impact on that calculation.
Good, but it would only have an impact on her rating.
Okay.
On her overall rating, right? So, but then you'll remember that the standard deviation and her overall rating are all outputs or calculations based on the raw data of her individual rated rounds. Awesome. So if her individual rated rounds are different, then that's going to set both of those outputs to be different. And as we've spoken to before, and actually, if you want a good a conversation on ratings, head back to our episode where we spoke to Aaron Gossage, who spoke a little bit about this, and he spoke very competently about the advantages of playing on various types of courses for your rating if you're looking to increase it.
And the red dot that is sitting at 840 rated and just above 20. Is that the most?
That's Laura Backer.
Laura Backer. Okay.
That's Laura Backer. She's the most consistent. She's the most consistent lady, followed by Michaela Kerr at 23.17, 886 rated. She's the third highest rated lady in the fourth highest rated lady in the country. Sorry, behind Alison, Haley, and Victoria. So yeah, so there we go. Episode 198, I'm being told, is the Aaron Gossage episode. If you want to head back and have a listen to that one, really good chat with him actually, and we talk about ratings on that in that interview. So yeah, so that's where we are with consistency. Be consistent, because it means that if you do screw up or you have a nightmare or you tread in some thistles or whatever, and you screw your leg up and you play the rest of the round and you bung or whatever, then
Do you feel like you are, just the last sort of comment on consistency, when you play a tournament now, and granted you haven't played many over the last year because of family circumstances, but
I've played enough to get into the top into the ratings. So I've played 5.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you feel after a round, and obviously you aren't able, you're not a human calculator, do you feel like you have a rough idea where your rating's going to be for that round?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got a pretty good idea. And I think that comes from watching a lot of disc golf and various scores on various types of competition, and knowing the competitors that I'm up against, as well as a general feeling for my own game and how well I've played in the round. I would say, and I'd say that most people will have that as well. So yeah. Right. Let's have a look at some results. And first up, we're going to head over to the Dystopia results, which we had, which was played last weekend in Masterton. In MPO, starting us off, we had Johnny Wake takes out by 4 shots. This was tight, actually, more or less the whole way. Didn't really have the lead until the final round either. Andy was leading him for some time, and then Ben Morrison back in 3rd place, getting the podium spot by a shot over Matt Broughton. In FPO, Michaela Kerr wins handsomely with 3 incredible rounds. She shoots a 927 and a 941 as her final round. Complete 31 under par on the Reds.
Her regular standard deviations. Just to bring the vocab in,
Indeed it would. Indeed it was. So not very consistent play by Michaela, but fortunately inconsistent in the right way.
Yes.
If you know what I mean. MP40, Marlo Bowyer wins comfortably over Stan Morris. Very consistent rounds there, 945, 957, 951, all within 12 rating points, sorry. So very well done to Marlo. Andrew Faulkner wins MA1 by 6 shots over the red hot favourite Cannon Larson in 2nd. FA1
suggest that Andrew Faulkner, the North Island Andrew Faulkner, is addressed as Andrew Faulkner, and the other one is addressed as Seb's dad until he gets a higher rating.
Yeah, okay. Does he need to change his name on PDGA? Probably should get in contact with the PDGA to do that. Yeah, you've got contacts at PDGA. You can do that, can't you? Yeah. We'll get it done. So in FA1, Caitlin McLeod wins here by 6 shots over Katie Hoffman. In MA40, the best division, Gary Jarvis takes out the win by 10 strokes over Ryan Kiddo. He didn't have it all his own way, especially after the first round. He was trailing Phil McLeod by a shot going into round 2. However, Gary managed to keep the consistency going into that second round. You can see a big swing there between Phil's first and second round, nearly 100 ratings points. I think his knee and 54 holes had something to do with it at that point. Kath Headley, a strong score in FA40. Wyatt Brazil in MA50 hits 29 under par. Incredible score from G in MA50, so well done to him. Debbie Mills wins comfortably in FA50 down to MA2. Andrew Lecoq takes out the title here. This was incredibly close. So between the top 4 in this division and myself, I was on the chase card with Ryan and Zach. I was pretty pleased with my consistency. 892, 886, and 900. That's relatively consistent. But every round I was 1 or 2 shots off, and it was annoying because it's one of those times where you look back and you kind of go, yeah, totally should have had that. And there's shots out there that you look back and you kind of go, if only.
Yes, if only. But I mean, great example. Like you said, the difference, how close that is as far as a division, especially within the top 5. But even those in 6th and 7th are playing at or above their ratings, which is awesome.
Yeah, and it was a really good battle. I hope that all 4 of the guys who are on the lead card will attest to it being a good fun fight all the way. And it was as well. Any one of the 5 of us could have taken it out if with, I don't know, with about 9 holes to go.
Yeah,
it was still anyone's game.
Yeah, that's
right.
awesome.
And even now, I'm thinking back, going, there were shots I missed in the last 9 that would have put me in the hunt. And bit of scoreboard pressure, whatever, and it could have been a different story.
Well, you should have. You should have suggested that you put on some oven mitts or something like that for the last 7 holes.
Yeah, I mean that possibly could have been the way to go. Spin around a couple of times with a blindfold on, maybe done all right. Brendan Smith wins MA3 by 7 shots with a 33 under par. So incredible score by Brendan in MA3. Sean Lincoln with 26 down, equally good. Would have placed him second in MA2 had he played. And Zach Muir, the youngster, in third. FA3, Suzanne Patterson takes out the win pretty comfortably here, and in MJ, AT Finton Reich wins. With a pretty strong first round, 892 from Finton. So yeah, good to see. On to the Generation Open, which also took place on the Saturday just gone. In the MPO division, Jamie Hunter wins by 6 strokes over his brother Daniel Hunter. Daniel looking to do the double from his win the previous week, but Jamie picking him to the post this time. So that's a second, a first, and a second for Daniel Hunter, Seafarer, Lismore, and Generation. Whereas Jamie takes home a 7th, a second, and a first. So, I mean,
so within 2 weeks, the 2 Hunter brothers have both claimed their first MPO wins, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, not quite. Yes, no, you're correct. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Yes, so well done to both of them for taking out their wins. Jin finishes third with 7 under par. And then into MA1, Joel Maunder takes out the win here with a 15 under par that actually would have tied him with Jamie in MPO.
So Joel actually won they had an overall trophy, trophy only event. So and Joel beats Jamie in the playoff hole.
Oh wow! Okay,
so
there we are.
Won the overall from MA1, which was pretty good.
Hanlon Johnson finishes 14 down, would have finished second in MPO, and Isaiah Winetti finishes 10 down, would have finished third. Also would have finished second in MPO. Interesting, actually, conversation here, and we've had it. We've kind of hinted at this before. How can we get more players playing in MPO? Because there's obviously the talent out there capable of competing in that division, right? We see it all the time, the overlap between MA1 and MPO. How do we encourage more players to play in MPO, especially in an event like Generation Open, where there's not a huge amount of cash on the line, no cash on the line? And so how do you do it? Why do those players choose to play in there and not at a higher division? Don't know.
I mean, and I've had discussions with the PDGA about this, and they're pretty keen that internationally, outside of the US and Europe, that there is a division that is both amateur and pro. for anyone to play. And obviously, for them, it's as soon as you get to the sort of 975-ish rating that they really want you to consider going and competing up higher. But I think these sorts of tournaments, we have the Topol Thermal Throwdown. Now you've got this. I think true AM or trophy only tournaments could be a great way for the tournament director to potentially sit there and go, actually, you know what, we're going to, looking at your ratings here, we are going to join these divisions together. Yeah. So I don't know if when it comes for cash, there's people that are worried about, affecting their status and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But,
well, I would argue on the, you can always decline the cash, and that will maintain your amateur status, right?
Yes.
So that's the thing. In MA40, Mark Paku takes the win out over Tim Stewart and Kelvin Cummings. Gregor Brosnan tied for third. FA40, Marie Cummings with the win. I think that's her back-to-back as well, isn't it? It is. It's more than back-to-back. It's back-to-back-to-back-to-back. Paradise Plate Seafarer, Lords and Ladies, and Open. That's her fourth victory in a row. Dwayne Aberhart takes out the win in MA2 by a single stroke over a trifecta of Isaac Loyal, Alan Megatron, and Toby Sutherland. In an FA2, Leah McDonald takes up the win by 7 shots over Nikki Dellaway.
So just it's a great actual, I've remembered, a great leeway in there. It's talking about Lake Oho, to remind people about the fact that if you register for Waihi Tapu before next Thursday, you'll be entered into a duck race for the first spot in the red roasting skins match, the traditional skins match there. Yeah, so I'm registered. Are you?
I'm not. No, I'm not. I will get down there one year, perhaps probably in about 15 years when the kids are older. But no, I do want to get down there and play that tournament. It looks like a lot of fun. And yeah, so make sure you get your entry in this week to get yourself a duck in the race, which we'll be doing next week live on the show for a spot in the skins match. A lot of fun, and you could win yourself some pretty hard cash, and that doesn't affect your professional status on PDGA either. So looking at ahead to the Charteris Bay Charge, Arn, which is taking place this weekend in the Christchurch area. Starting off in MPO, Jasper van der Meer is the favourite heading into this event with odds of 5.1. Sam Cole, Dylan Dedman-Nahui, Willie Taratana and Raina Pai are all at about 7s and 8s. Pretty tight there at the top. Probably outside of Jasper. I mean,
Jasper, pretty sure Jasper was the last winner, or may have come second in the last one that was a couple of years ago. But for me, there's a sneaky liar. There's a real big undertone of these younger MPO players that are just like, you think about. We talked about the Hunters. For me, I've chucked absolutely every one of the 1,600 coins I have on Raina Pai to win that this weekend.
You reckon?
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting. I think it's really open. I think it's so open this tournament. Jasper does have the advantage. Perhaps certainly the data analytics team, sort of digital development team, I should say. Do think that he's gonna take out the win, and Jasper does have history in this tournament. He finished second in 2023, didn't enter in 2024, and I'm just looking at 2022. Doesn't look like it was. I don't know if it was done then in 2022. It might have been. So second in 2023. Can he come back and do it in this tournament? Absolutely, but there'll probably be about 5 or 6 guys who are saying, "Wait a minute. This is actually mine." So be interesting. So in MP40, J Pookie Pookie is the favourite here over Andrew Inch, and they're pretty hot favourites against the rest of the field. Any thoughts here?
Look, Andrew Inch is a very good. He's moved up from MA40 to MA40 to MP40. Very good disc golfer. But yeah, look, Jay's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And he's been doing it. You know, he's got a few wins under the belt over the last sort of 6 months, a year. Newly published author, Matt.
Okay.
He's
yes,
got
I
a
did see
book.
that actually.
Yes, he's got his book out, his autobiography, which is pretty awesome for Jay. So well done to him.
Totally.
My wife has picked it up and currently taken it off me, so she's reading it at the moment. But good to see some new names. Good to see my mate Te Hohota there playing in the MP40. And Clinton actually really surprised. He came fourth at Oho last weekend in the Generation Open, and you know, new to the pro groups. So yeah, good wee group there.
In MA1, Bailey Gardner is the favourite here, but then you've got Dwan Fisher and Kevin Carpenter who are just outside at eights. Where's your value in MA1 on?
The kid's pretty good. He's going to be there or thereabouts. Remembering back to Charteris, I'm actually going to back my mate here, Mr. Carpenter. Now that I know that he's up in the 940s, yeah.
Indeed, South Island champ. Yeah. So we shall see how we get on. MA40, Mark Paku, can he go back to back against Jamie Helms, Craig Gold, Scott Brooker at 10s, Dwayne Winetti at 12s. Pretty deep field, but I'm probably looking towards the top 3 or 4 there to kind of be contesting.
But there's another sneaky one in there, and I know he doesn't play a lot of disc golf anymore, but Dave Rose.
Didn't he run this event?
Tournament.
Like,
this is his
I was going to say, like, he used to run this event. So yeah, very, very good, very, very, very good knowledge, most likely of courses, etc. So yeah, we shall have to keep an eye on that one. Down to MA50. Matt Brown is the favourite here over Sebastian's dad. In second favourite, Greg Cormack is third. Janine Frost is favourite going into FA50, and Ashley Poi Poi is the favourite into MA2 with a bit of a lead as far as the digital development team are concerned over Stephen Kelly and Michael Wyhan.
It's an interesting one. Stephen Kelly is the national MA3 champion, and did it at about a 950 or 960 average rated round. He's a very good player. And I haven't seen Ashley play though, to be honest. So I can't really.
Do you see any value in producer Tom there? Place odds maybe.
Yeah, I think there's a place bet in there, but we'll see how it goes. I beat him the last time we played Charteris. He will tell you. Yeah, so consistency,
or he
Tom.
won't. Excellent. In MA3, Daniel Fisher is the favourite over Brian Hourigan and Ben Bolton. In MA3, MA3 and MA4, or MA3 in this case, is incredibly difficult to call. A lot of weeks. That's where we see most of the kind of change ups going, and if there's value to be had, normally in the lower divisions, if you know what to spot. And as we've just seen, consistency is that people are less consistent the further down.
Look, MA3 in gambling terms, I don't know, are they the greyhounds? You know, they're the ones that could go anywhere. They could fall over. They could, whereas your MPOs are your gallopers. You know, your thoroughbreds, big racehorses. So
that's your Kentucky Derby or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. And finally, MJ15, Noah Gardner is the favourite going in over Eli Helms. So make sure that you get your tips in. Let's have a quick look at the leaderboard, if we may. I don't know if we can just quickly nab that up on screen whilst we're there. So the leaderboard, we are about halfway through calendarically through the competition. Madone Tweedy is leading the way with 72,000 over Ben Morrison in second place, 35. Johnny Wake on 15. And then Owen Pratt and I think that's Bailey Gardner on both on 10s. Yeah, look, it's still anyone's game, honestly. I know it looks like Manone's got a big lead, but I wouldn't, it's not too early. There's still a good number of events to go, and all it takes is a couple of big bets, and that's it.
All it takes is Rainer Pie bringing home the win this weekend, and I'm in the coins.
Yeah. Well, we shall see. We shall see what happens. As we've said earlier on previous episodes, there is a slight change this year this season, in that the final month you will not be able to see what other people have bet. So you'll be able to putting your bets on blind in the final month, and also don't forget on the 1st of June, everybody will get a 500 coin stipend, irrelevant of how well, bad, or indifferent you've bet so far in the season. Right. Now we're going to take a look at a new video game, Arne, that's come out on Steam. I don't know if you've seen this. It's called Disc Golf Masters. Now, producer Tom got hold of a copy of this and has been playing it and can show us some coverage. Are you much of a gamer?
Kids have probably put a bit of a stop to that, to be honest.
I know what you mean.
But yeah, I try to.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow, look at this. You can be sponsored by different people. Wow,
brilliant.
Amazing. Well, I'll put Lat64 on because that's a good brand. So look, this is available on PC, I'm guessing. Hopefully it's a bit smoother on yours than it is on mine. Only PC, but look, it looks good though, doesn't it? I mean,
it does look good.
I don't know how the controller works.
That's Scott Brooker.
Producer
exactly
Tom, what
how
do you...
Scott Brooker stands.
All right, I'm coming on, Mike.
Producer Tom, Producer Tom, talk us through what you're doing right now.
So it plays
in controller.
It plays a lot like putting for Disc Golf Valley. So how you kind of use your finger to go up and down to kind of get the right angle. It's entirely based on that, but with the mouse.
So what, are you using the mouse? Okay, yeah.
So if you keep it within that kind of that degree in the middle there, that's to give you the perfect angle. But if you kind of deviate outside of that, it's going to alter it to be an Anheuser or Heiser, depending. But you'll see on the release. So you kind of choose the angle. You can kind of see some of the flight path in the distance, and you can see kind of.
Wow, I wish you could actually have that.
Yeah.
Like for realsies.
Flight path.
So there,
just get someone to get a laser out.
Yeah.
Well, how long is it before we get like those Google Glass? You can get a pair of glasses that kind of puts it onto what you're looking at. Yeah, that would be amazing.
They only have forehand or backhands. I don't think I throw very many forehands.
So I was going to stop. Like that is 100. Scott Brooker, you're in the chat. I'm bloody sure you are. That's how you tee off. Change that fella's hair. Maybe they used him. Scott Brooker.
Maybe they used him as the image thing, and he's just not telling us.
It's a picture of perfect form there, Scotty.
I'll skip forward a bit after this hole.
3 birdies in a row. This looks quite easy.
We'll just skip hole 4.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So this one here, I think I was like, I want to try something different. So because you can either throw a forehand or backhand, I tried to see if I could do a backhand roller. So it takes a bit of practice.
Yeah.
It takes a bit of practice because for some reason you can't release on that angle.
Okay.
You have to
Is this game still in development, or is it like
so
released?
This is the pre-alpha. This is the alpha testing. They just wanted to stress test how many people could actually play it without the servers crashing. But I have a feeling it might still be available on Steam to test out. But here we go. So the roller ends up pretty successful, actually. You'll know this hole from Disc Golf Valley as well.
Yeah. I'm just going to put it out there. You can throw a roller like that. So
no, I could never throw a roller like that.
This looks like a lot of fun.
And
it looks like it would be very, very difficult to control.
I'll move forward to hole 6. Hole 6 is the good one.
Hole 6. This looks like a good one. Yeah, water carry.
82
trees,
meters.
Guarding. Can you get in the kitchen off the tee? Let's have a look.
I'm saying $5 in the water.
It does look risky. This is one of those ones where you go, shall I just throw from the drop zone?
Ooh, off the cage.
Oh, look at this. Outrageous. Very good.
No one put me up on my bet, so it's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, finished up. I'll go quickly jump through to the last hole.
This is very good. Okay.
Yeah. All right, we'll end it there.
It looks bloody enjoyable.
It does look like a lot of fun and very detailed and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, looks good.
All right, it's off.
Right. Let's play some Disc Golf Valley. Not some Disc Golf Valley. Some Distal, shall we? Arn.
Yeah.
You're the guest. You can pick first. Come on, chat. We need some help.
I always go pretty much straight down the middle, so I am going to start with a passion.
Oh, nice. What have we got? Oh, lovely. Look at this. 8-5 minus okay, so it's an 8-5.
8-5-0.
8. Is 8 a very popular thing? I don't know. Is a sidewinder an 8? I think it might be. Yeah, I think it's more stable though. Date is less stable than a passion, I think. So it might not work for us. Right, come on. Latitude. So it's not a Discraft. So
yeah.
Well,
you're a latitude man.
I would. A Saint Pro, I think, is a speed 8.
Not a Saint.
Let's have a go at Saint Pro. We've got Volt in the guess. I think Volt might be a 9.
All right, you're off, Morgan. Not coming back, mate.
Look at this. Happy with that. One guess. Anyway, right, that was good. Enjoyed that. Right, Disc Golf Valley. Let's have a look. What have we got? Arn 6 down. Very good. How many goes was that? Was that your first go or the second?
17. Yeah, 17.
A few. Jam with 7 down. Blindsided with 7 down. Congratulations. Producer Tom with 3 down. So congratulations to Jam and Blindsided, who took out the and Blindsided who got the Albatross on hole 1. So congratulations.
So did I. Okay. Even if it was 17 goes in, but I got it. I just had 2 bogeys.
Does it still count if you have a go like 800 times?
800 times, yeah. Well, it's 2 off the first, right? 2 off the first.
Yeah, I reckon. Right. Finally, before we get into power rankings, don't forget, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave us a comment. What do you think about consistency in disc golf? Is it important? How consistent do you think you are? And how much of a part do you think it plays in the way that you approach tournaments? I mean, no one tries to be inconsistent, presumably, but yeah. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's have a look at the power rankings. going into the Charteris Bay Charge. And after Dystopia, Hannah Edmonds drops 3 places down to 8. Debbie Mills is up 2 to 12. Marie Cummings jumps 4 to 19. And over in the men's division, Johnny Waite climbs 3 to 3rd at Daniel Hunter's expense. And Sergei Sanin drops 4 to 25. Other big movers here. Andrew Faulkner Truck climbs 86 to 91. And Tim Stewart up 65 to 181. Hanlon Johnson up 65 to 84. So congratulations to everybody who made moves this week. Charteris Bay Charge this weekend down in Christchurch. So very best of luck to everybody who's playing down there and wherever you're playing disc golf. Take it easy, play well, get some birdies, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.